Welcome to the Full Minded with Alyssa Bette podcast, where my mission is to normalize the human experience. I believe there's power in authenticity and building a community immersed in it. I plan on bringing you on an in-depth and transparent journey of my life through solo episodes. I will also be interviewing a range of individuals who are willing to share their unique stories. On this podcast, we will dive into topics such as mental health, heartbreak, loss, change, trauma, self-love, and every other topic that makes up the human experience. While I do my very best to provide you insight and knowledge on these subject matters, this podcast is not a substitute for professional help. I am not a licensed therapist. I am simply a human sharing my experiences with the intent to help people feel less alone. If you are suffering, please consult with a licensed professional. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the episode. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode. I hope you have all been doing fabulous. I am doing much better than when I dropped my last episode, which was a few weeks back. A lot more regulated, feeling at peace. I'm currently in New Brunswick, visiting a lot of my chosen family and friends. For those that don't know, I lived here for about 8 years. I'm originally from Ontario, and then I moved to the East Coast, the Maritimes. And I loved it so much I stayed for the longest time. And then from there, I moved to the West Coast. So I am back on the East Coast, visiting all my people and just hanging out. I am recording in the front room of this house, and my friend has 2 cats, and they are just going at it right now. And I'm not sure if this little tiny mic will pick it up, but it will be kind of funny if so. They're just full on scrapping. I think they're playing though. Just a little morning playtime. Anyway, I'm just sitting in this chair, having a little coffee, looking out the window, looking at, honestly, the entire city from this view. It's beautiful. The leaves are changing color. Fall is upon us. And I love fall. Fall is such a good season. And it's just a good reminder of change being positive and beautiful as well. And I like that. I like that shit. I had no topic idea coming into today. However, I did open a question box on my Instagram. Oh, you can definitely hear that. Guys, at this moment, do we need to scrap? Anyway, I opened a question box on my Instagram, and I had a handful of questions come through and topic suggestions. And I figured, why not just shoot through all of them and answer them as we go? I think that'd be fun. It's been a while. Oh my God. It's been a while since I've done a You Asked, I Answered episode, so I figure it's time. Alrighty, so the first question that somebody submitted was how to stop feeling sad about going no contact with family. This is a tough one, and honestly, I'm in no place to tell you not to feel sad. It's a very sad thing. It's a very unnatural feeling to disconnect from the people who, birthed you, raised you, no matter the quality of life you had. It is within your blood, within your veins to want to have a connection with them. That's why I think that people who lash out at their parents or they move away or there's these, this disconnect or no contact, I think it's really important to understand the child's point of view first, because it's an unnatural thing to do. It's a very unnatural thing to do. So for you to have to do it, there needed to be something in place because it's extremely painful to do. And my advice to this question would be to ride the waves and allow yourself to feel sad. It's normal to feel sad. Going no contact with your family is sad. And even though I have an immense amount of peace from doing so with my parents, it is still sad. There are still moments where I miss them. There are moments where I'm reminded of them. And there's moments where I have a deep level of empathy for them because I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done a lot of healing, and I understand. I have empathy for everyone. I don't hate anyone because there is something either wrong with you mentally or abuse that you've been through or trauma that's unhealed that makes you act a certain way. So I feel like the more I learn about psychology and my own brain and mental illness and all those things, the more empathy I have for those who are stuck in it, who are struggling, who, are abusive themselves, because though it's not an excuse for your behavior, I can learn to identify where that came from. So for me, it's the waves of guilt and wishing, I could have raised them myself, even though that makes no sense. I just wish that, they would have had a better upbringing so that we would have had a better upbringing and they would have had a better quality of life and self-love and all those tools themselves. But, you get to a point where it's not normal to parent your parents. It's actually a very traumatic experience. It's not normal at all. Like, to give advice is one thing, but to be a parent to your parents or to be the parent of the family is just, it's not a normal thing and shouldn't be the case, So if you're going through that, just know you're not alone, unfortunately, but you don't have to do it. It's not a role you need to do. That took me a long time to realize with myself. So I think, it's normal to feel sad, to feel a range of emotions after going no contact with the people that birthed you and raised you. It's totally normal. And I think what you can do to help cope with the emotions is maybe make a list in your phone of all the reasons you went no contact, all the reasons you don't want to have contact with them, you don't want them in your life, so that when you are very sad and feeling guilty or whatever emotion that hits you, you can read through that list and remind yourself why you did it. I think that'd be the best piece of advice for that. And the next question we have is how to make friends as an adult. It's hard. Laughing face. It is hard. Move to Bali. I'm just kidding. How to make friends. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so for me, I'm a very extroverted person. And I could make friends with a gummy bear is what my friends often say to me. They're like, you could make friends with fucking drying wallpaper. Like, you are just so extroverted and you can speak to anyone. And I have always kind of been like that since I was younger. I've always been kind of like a yapper and just wanting to connect with people. And then I made friends with even more social people growing up. So I became even more social. That is a good question, actually. And I think a very common complaint about being in adulthood and, not doing as many maybe activities as we did when we were in school. When we were in school, there was just a lot more room for connection and sports and extracurricular activities and such where you could meet people. As an adult, you kind of have to choose to have extracurricular activities because it's real easy to just want to stay inside your house and watch Netflix. It's pretty chill, especially in the winter and you're in Canada. Oh my God, why would we leave? It's freezing. And I think it also depends on the city you live in too. So I'm currently living in Vancouver, and I will say that it is very difficult to make friends, I think, in big cities in general, but especially the West Coast. And that's a complaint for people who move there, who are not from there. Even the people that are from there, I think, can recognize how difficult it is to connect with others and make lasting friendships. So I think it depends on where you're at. And if you're in the Northwest fucking territories or where you're at in the country or the world. But I would say definitely going out and doing social things. I feel like society immediately thinks drinking, clubbing, but there's lots of other things. There's clubs you can join, book clubs, I would imagine, and just going out and doing activities, even gymming. You can meet people at the gym, doing things that you enjoy doing and then meeting people as a result of it, not forcing yourself to go to bars if you don't like bars or drinking, right? I remember when I got single after my past relationship ended a couple of years ago, I was like, how the fuck am I going to meet people? Because I don't go out, because I don't drink. I don't, you know what I mean? I was very much a homebody at that point. And I mean, still kind of am aside from my traveling. When I'm at home, I just work and sleep and eat and gym. I'm just in my routine, and I love that for me. And I think, as you get older, you just fall into your routine. And I think that's why it becomes harder to make friends, because you're just like, I just want to chill. But yeah, I remember saying to my friend after my relationship ended, should I go to a bar? And she's like, what? Like, you don't even drink, bitch. Like, why the fuck would you go to a bar? And why the fuck would you want to meet someone at a bar? Not to shame people who go to bars, okay? But like, I'm a sober gal. I'm not trying to find someone who's drinking heavily as a partner, of course. So her point to that was, that's so dumb. You're not going to meet someone who values the same things as you do. So that's why I say, do things that align with you. Go to the gym or start a book club or whatever interests you. Try to find something in that niche to do. And I will say too that the most connections I've ever made in my entire fucking life have been through travel, especially solo travel, because you want to connect with people. You're open to connecting with people. If I would have done these last couple trips to Asia with a bestie, I wouldn't have even looked up half the time the people were passing by because I would have been so engrossed in my conversation with my already well-versed bestie. Do you know what I mean? So to solo travel is an iconic thing that you can do for your self-growth, self-love, self-improve, every fucking thing, discipline, everything, intelligence, inward and outward. But especially if you want to connect with people and you want to connect with like-minded people. I think that's so cool because the more, like I said, the more you heal, the more you love yourself, the more you become a magnet to the people that are meant for you. So do things that you love and the rest will come. Okay, the next question is how to be okay with everything happening in the world and all the negative news. Okay, yeah, that's a doozy because the world can be a very scary place. I will say though, there is a lot of negative news and not a lot of positive. There are not enough positive things in the world being documented and shown on our TV screens. No. It is mainly to scare us. It is mainly the bad shit. It is mainly negativity. So though I do think that the world at times and is a scary place, there is a lot of good shit going on too. So I would say fixate your energy on the good shit because whatever you put into your mind, your subconscious, you are going to see that. So if you're constantly consuming negative news and all of the bad things that are happening, you're going to see only bad and it's going to stress you out. Versus if you look into good news movement, there's a couple pages on Instagram like that, and try to consume as much good news, you're going to view the world in a different way. So though it can be a scary place, I do think, especially with the news in North America, they do blow some things out of proportion. Not saying it's all false for sure, but I feel like I was always told to be scared when traveling and these countries are scary that are not fully developed and you got to be careful of being robbed and all this shit. And then I went traveling and I'm like, nothing scary happened. So I do think that some things are blown out of proportion on the news, especially in North America. So just be mindful of that when listening to the news. Alrighty, next question is how to be okay with living your authentic life without fear of others' judgment. I feel like it's such a normal thing as a human being to fear judgment of others and being different. But the more you step out of your comfort zone, the less you give a fuck. The more you love yourself, the more you heal, the less you need validation. This is coming from somebody who could not make an outfit decision without calling 17 friends. Because back then I really did be having 17 friends on speed. Now the circle's tight, it's close. Not as many people, which is good. But back then I needed everyone's approval. I couldn't even have someone disagree with my beliefs without it spiraling me into an abyss. I needed external validation for everything because I had no sense of self and no sense of self-love at all. I was like depleted as a human. So I think the more you turn inwards and work on yourself, do those things that challenge you, solo travel if you can and can afford it, and just do solo activities even with yourself to learn about who you are, what you love. If you're somebody who is actively in relationships, take a fucking break. Also, this is coming from somebody who is a serial relationship dater. Like I was always in these long-term relationships with different people. I could not be single. I would pretend I could be single, but I would have a roster of a bunch of people, trying to not be single. So I couldn't be single. This is the first time in my life that I'm actively choosing and staying single because it's actually the best. It's the best when you love yourself. It is not a fun time when you don't love yourself, but that is where the work is cut out for you to do. Work on your relationship to self and you will care less and less and less. As the days go by, you can feel it. Like, let me share something with you guys. At the beginning of this year, my only New Year's resolution was to cut ties with people that no longer poured into me, energy for energy. Not in a spiteful way, but I pour so much into my relationships, and it's very hard for people to match that. At least the people that I was surrounding myself with for a long period of time. It was very hard for me to realize that a lot of my relationships were one-sided. It was very painful for me to realize that. And even going into Bali, that was one of the things that I wanted to learn how to do. So all of the relationships that I was curating while in Bali, I put them to the test as well too. Like, are these people pouring into me? Are they a good time, or am I just a good time? You know what I mean? Like, I could have fun in a cardboard box. Are they a fun person who's bringing me value, or am I just a fun bitch and I'm just chilling with these people and they just happen to be in my presence at the time? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a really good opportunity for me to dig into that and dig deeper and just really reflect on if these people are bringing value to my life, if they're matching energy for energy, or if I just see them in a different way because of how positively maybe I see myself, or the experiences that we have together are mainly because of me, and therefore I'm having a good time. That was a very uncomfortable year because of it, because I really said, I need to learn this lesson and I need to start cutting ties. And so I had the scissors out and I've been cutting all year long. I've been shedding, and I've lost a lot of people purposely, because I am done putting energy into people that do not put energy into me back. Not because I don't have love for them, but because at this point in my life, with my age, with my business, everything, it has to make sense for me. Every move I make has to make sense for me. There has to be a benefit in it. There has to be energy. It has to be making me money. It has to be, you know what I mean? Every intention or every decision I make is very intentional. All that to say is, me as a former people pleaser and someone who needed a million people to guide me, to get dressed, what to wear, what to fucking think, I'm now at a place where I am so comfortable cutting anybody out who doesn't meet the requirements to have access to me. And I'm telling you, it is uncomfortable for a moment, but once you live majority of your life in a people-pleasing state, you are so grateful for the little uncomfortable moment that happens at the beginning of cutting someone out versus the discomfort that you experience every single day of having people around you that do not value you, that do not match your energy, and do not respect you. And then the bonus of that, when you clear out all these people who are not even giving you what you want or what you're giving them, you make room for some fucking people who will. And the sick ass people that I've had the pleasure and the honor of meeting this year, far worth it. So yes, that is my answer to that, and my little story time of how you can also do it. The next topic suggested here, or question, is talking about growing out of friendships, which I feel like is the perfect one to answer right now, because we're kind of talking about just that. Growing out of friendships is very challenging. It's painful, of course, but I think looking through the lens of everything has a season has been a really powerful shift for me, because I used to think that if they weren't there for the entire life span, then it wasn't a valuable relationship, or it wasn't something that I could credit and say, oh, this was a great experience. I would just assume it failed. Even with relationships too, right? Romantic relationships, I would think, okay, it ended, so obviously something was wrong. Sometimes people just aren't meant to come on your entire journey with you, and that is fucking okay. It is okay. It took me 30 years to realize that. No shame in the game, but that is okay. Not everyone is meant to come on your entire journey with you. People are meant to come in and out of your life to teach you lessons, to remind yourself of what you need to improve on, to be a mirror to you, to show you what you're worth, to show you what you want, to show you what you don't want. Relationships ending are sad, but just like fall and the seasons changing, it's also really pretty and really amazing, and it's making space for more beautiful shit. So I think it just depends your perspective on it. Not saying don't feel your emotions, because of course it's going to be sad, but you haven't met some of the coolest people that are going to be in your life yet. That's so exciting. And the universe is, or God, or whatever you believe, is removing these people so that there's space for that. That's truly beautiful if you look at it through that lens. The next question is, what would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time? And I feel like I was recently asked this on a podcast. I think I joked and said run, but I wouldn't say that. I would comfort the shit out of her. Honestly, I would just hug her. I look at younger baby pictures of myself or when I was like 6. That bitch needed a hug. That bitch needed a hug. Big time. And honestly, I would tell her to believe in herself more, because it took me a long time to believe in myself. It took me a long time to trust my intuition and my gut feeling. That's a really valuable thing. That's like the one thing that guides you through life, is trusting in yourself and trusting in your gut feeling, your intuition, all those things. It took me a very long time to learn it because I didn't feel I was smart enough or worthy of believing in myself. I was kind of beaten down mentally a lot growing up and talked down to and made to feel less than. All of my ideas were silly and stupid kind of things. So I, internalized that, as you do as children. And that kind of became the voice I heard every time I would be like, oh, maybe, I shouldn't trust this person. And then I'd be like, oh, you're silly. What do you know? You're probably just doing this. You're probably just doing this for attention. You're probably just selfish. It was a really mean narrative that I had in my head for majority of my life until recently, until I healed, until I learned to love myself and value myself and be like, bitch, you know some things. It turns out you know some shit. So trust yourself. So yeah, my response to that question would be, I would love her. I would go back in time, love the shit out of her, and tell her to believe in herself and maybe ease up on the guilt, because it wasn't your responsibility to do a lot of the things that you were made to do, that would help. But it's interesting. I don't like to think about changing the past too much, just because, there's energy that you can focus on the future and the present moment that are better suited for your time. And everything that happened, every single thing that happened, good or bad, has led me to this moment. And that I'm grateful for. So it's hard. I don't really want to I don't want to go back in a time machine and mess shit up, Not that that's an option yet. I'm sure it will be one day. But yeah, that's what I would say to little Liz. The next question is good. It's asking, when do you know you're ready to get into a relationship? How do you know? That's a really good question. And I think it's going to be a little bit different for every person, but I will give you my answer for myself, and then you can take that how you wish. First things first, from experience, I would say make sure you are over your ex, for the love of God. That was a common mistake for me, getting into relationships to fill that void, kind of a rebound situation, not knowing it, of course. At the time, I was like, I guess this is just what we do. And like I said, I was a serial dater. So it was my duty to continue dating other people. And I didn't really give myself much of a time span in between relationships to heal, to love myself, anything. So I would say, out of respect for yourself and your future partner, make sure you are fully over your ex, 100%. The next thing I would say is, do you want to date someone right now, like genuinely? And that may seem like a silly question to some, but for me, I didn't want to date a lot of my exes, and I was convinced to date them by them or friends. And not that my friends were trying to harm me in any way, of course, but I think it was just such a norm for everyone to date and everyone to be in relationships that they were pushing it so much. So I got into a lot of relationships over the years where I didn't actually want to be in them. And I was like, why am I here right now? And then I just kind of went with it. It wasn't even until my first solo trip that I had sat with it and realized what was happening, because I had met someone on my solo trip who I thought was very interesting, and we connected very quickly, story of my life. And I was like, oh my God, I'm literally going to end up in another relationship. And I started having a panic attack over it. And I sat with those feelings. I'm like, why am I having a fucking panic attack about this right now? And then I realized that it's because so many of my relationships were pushed on me, or because I wasn't in tune with my intuition or my self-love or all of that. I got into these situations where I didn't even want to be there, and I couldn't even identify that at the time. It took me years later to realize. So I ask you that full seriousness. Do you want to date somebody? Do you want to date this person? For real. The next thing I would say is you should definitely curate a list of what you are looking for in a partner. Write it in your phone, write it on your forehead, write it on something, and then stick to it. That's the other thing. I got a funny story about this for you guys, actually. Okay, so the first time I ever made a note about what I wanted in a partner, I read it to my therapist, okay? And I was like, he can't have just been fresh out of a relationship because I seen what that did to me. I don't want them to be living with their mom still, because for me, that was all I'd ever dated. I wanted somebody who was more independent, someone older than me, someone emotionally intelligent, yada, yada, yada. I swear to God, it was like 3 weeks later, I came to my therapist and I was like, yo, so I met someone, but let me tell you something. They do live with their mom. They are still in school, which was something on my list too. I wanted someone more established. They are fresh out of a relationship and they're much younger than me, but I'm going to go for it. And she was like, you can do what you want, but the whole point of you making a list of what you wanted in a partner was that so you would, abide by that and like make that your goal target. We laugh about it now because it's funny now, but at the time it was not funny because, of course, getting into a relationship with the opposite of the things that I myself fucking wanted, of course there was going to be a chaos. There was the most chaos of all time because I went against everything that I wanted. And so I put myself in these, for what? Like looking back on it, it seems like simple math, like 2 + 2 = 4. But at the time I was like, yeah, I'm going to fix him. I'm going to get him out of his mom's house. I'm going to age him. I'm like, what the fuck? So make a fucking list of things that you want in a partner and stick to it. Honor it. Teach yourself that you are worthy of getting those things on the list. Even if it takes longer to find a partner, who cares? You have more time to hang out with yourself. You never know when you are going to stumble into a relationship that is going to be the one that lasts forever. And you will never have that alone time again, like when you're single. So cherish it. It's a beautiful opportunity. It's amazing. I'm having a wild time. It's not really that wild, but it's exciting for different reasons. There's a lot of self-love happening, a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity to put and time and energy to put into my business, into my team. Yeah, it's amazing. Into the friendships that I love and that have lasted through 2024. Use it to your advantage. There's so much more than relationships and partnerships, like romantically. I think it was really heavily pushed on obviously our generation, millennials, and then our parents and grandparents as well. That was all they really knew. They were like, I guess get married at 14. And everyone was like, sure. No one asked any questions. There was not a lot of pushback. But with our gen and the generations, younger than us, we're kind of like, well, we don't want to date. And what are these men are offering us for real? We're really like questioning that hard, which I love because what are they offering us? For me, I feel like I've gotten to a point where I love myself so much. I value myself so much and I'm able to provide such an amazing life. If you're not at least meeting that, I won't even consider it. Like, I need you to go above and beyond. I need you to be teaching me things. And so, yeah, take the time to be single, ladies and gents, because it is a beautiful, beautiful season to be single. But yeah, all that to say, those are things you should consider before getting into a relationship. And also just evaluate their emotional intelligence. For me, like, I will not date someone who's not emotionally intelligent as fuck. I don't care if you know the capital of China, but like, I need to know that you're emotionally intelligent, like as fuck, because that's a better skill than, knowing the geography of the world. Like, to me, that's something I value. So that is something I assess. I also would never date someone who's closed off to therapy. Absolutely not. You could be checking all the boxes and you don't have any want to go to therapy. It'd be the same as somebody not wanting to go to the gym and working on their physical health. You don't want to work on your mental health? That's not cute. That's not cute, babe. It's not for me, And just go with your gut too and trust your intuition. Trust that your body knows before the rest of you knows. So if you feel uneasy with a person that you're dating or courting or whatever it is, trust that and move out. Get out of that situation. It's your body is telling you that for a reason. So yeah, I think assessing all of those things before getting into a relationship is good and beneficial, and a question I'm happy to answer now, because the me 10 years ago would have been like, if he buys you a smoothie, I guess date him. Like I just had the bar was not even off the ground, honest to God. So it's a better question now for me to answer because I feel like I've lived through some things and yeah, my experience is much different now. Definitely. I hope that helps. And then the final one, tell us some funny boy stories. That in itself could be an entire episode. And I'm actually trying to think which one or ones to share with you. There actually is a story that I want to share with you guys that isn't, really haha. It's very like, look out and be mindful and trust your gut. And I'm going to do an entire episode on that one, actually, because it's a good one. But for this question, I will say, when I was in Bali for 3 months, I made it my mission to be brutally honest in every circumstance because I think this is another circling back to the benefits of solo travel. You can be authentically yourself without any fear of judgment from your regular culture, country, friends, anyone, peers. So for me, though I don't feel too fearful of what people think of me, I obviously put myself out there on the internet every day. And I'm very honest. You have to get to a point where you just are like, I don't give a fuck, But for me, I practiced really deep honesty with everyone that I came into contact with, especially men, because I think for a long time, women were conditioned to shut up and not say how we felt and not value our own needs. It was always the male need in every aspect before us. So this trip, I said some shit. If a man was acting out of place, I said, let me tell you something, fuck off, So I did, I did practice a lot of honesty. And I will say there was this one guy that I had met. Bali's a very social place, right? You meet people left, right, and center. He kind of helped save me from this Grab driver situation that wasn't really looking like a Grab driver. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to get on that bike. And he was like, do you need to ride somewhere? And I was like, that's less sketchy. Let's go. So we hung out. We had a lovely day, like just beautiful conversations, wonderful person. He was cute. He wasn't my type. And I wasn't into him like that, but we still had a wonderful day. And I think the one thing that frustrates me the most about men is they sleep on me for a friend. They be trying to sleep with me, and instead they sleep on me as a homie. I'm a really great friend. I'm a great wing woman. Can we not just be friends? Like, it's either they want to hook up or they want to date or they want nothing to do with me. Really frustrates me because fuck off. But, yeah, there was this one guy. We spent the day together, went out for dinner, met his friends. His friends were a bit yikes. And I was like, I need to get out of here. We went out to the bar and I could tell he was, one, getting drunk and two, trying to cozy up to me. And I was like, I'm not into this at all, at all. And then I could tell he was getting in his head about being rejected. And I was like, let's just have a chat. Hey, let's go out front and have a chat. He's like, what's up? And I was like, I feel like you're trying to hook up with me and I want nothing to do with that. So I'm happy to wing woman you. I'm happy to still hang out with you as a homie, no bad blood, but I'm just not interested in you like that. He's like, well, what about our day? We had a lovely day. I'm like, we did have a lovely day, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sleep with you because we had a lovely day. There's different types of lovely days to be had, and he was just shook. And I was kind of shook at myself. Actually, I was like, wow, you're just saying exactly what a lot of people feel, but are too shy or too uncomfortable to say. I was like, I think you're a really nice dude, honestly. But I'm not going to sleep with you tonight. This is not where this is headed. And it feels as though you want to sleep with someone. So there is a bar full of women. Happy to wing woman, yeah. Happy to wing woman, yeah. So he was like, okay, yeah, no stress. I'm like, you sure? You're good? He was not good. End of the story, guys. He was not good. He got super drunk. It was not cute, but I ended up rolling out of there. I had a lovely day and my day was done. I don't really know if that's a funny boy story. I don't really have too many comical ones. They're usually me teaching them some sort of a lesson and then yeeting out of there. But I do think it was a very freeing and fun experience for me to be honest with myself. And that really validated my own emotions and feelings too, because I was giving them a voice and I was advocating for myself. which is something that I had never done before, right? So it was really special. And especially being sober too, I will say that my interactions with men were far more intentional. I know I'm not misleading y'all because I'm fully sober. You guys are drinking. Everyone else is drinking or doing whatever. I'm fully coherent. I know the day I'm having. I know the intention I'm using. I know how I'm coming off. So I think just it gave me so much more trust in myself and my ability to stand up for myself because I know I wasn't misinterpreting. I was just fully and clearly there. So yeah, there was a lot of situations like that where I was just super honest and I'm like, no, not into you at all. Nope, I don't want to take your number. Nope, I don't want this. It was really amazing, honestly. It was a really good opportunity for growth and for setting the standards and the boundaries for myself. So I hope that inspires you a little bit. And I definitely think that my next podcast episode will be, I should never say this because I'd be changing my mind like crazy, but I do really want to share a story that happened with me while I was on my trip in Bali. Just for, especially the girls out there to be mindful of men and, trust your gut feeling. I think your intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have. And it's like always right, so it knows before you. So I think it would be such a valuable episode to do on intuition and then share that story with you. So stay tuned for the next episode because I'm 99% sure I'm going to do that one. But this was lovely. Thank you for taking the time to ask these questions. I really appreciate it. I did not have any topic in mind. And now because of these questions, I have another topic in mind already ready for the next episode. So I very much appreciate you guys. This was a fun episode to do. And if you have any additional questions for me, always shoot me a message, DM me, email me, however you wish. And yeah, this has been lovely. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. And I'm sending you lots of love. Until next time, guys. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I loved having you. If you wish to support this podcast, please follow us so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media at Full Minded Podcast. Please visit our website at www.fullmindedpodcast.com to submit all your questions. If you wish to be a guest on this podcast, please fill out the form on our website to apply. Your continued support means the world, so thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune into Full Minded with Alyssa Bette. Until next time, be kind to yourselves and remember that there is power in owning our imperfect and messy lives. It's all a part of the human experience, and you're not alone in it.